When I was 7, my mother had been dating her new boyfriend for a year, Abel the mechanic, who became the husband, who became the stepfather, who became the man who tortured us for years. When my mother divorced him, Abel bought a gun. When my mother bought another house and moved on with her life, Abel decided to pull up to that house and get his gun out. As Abel started shooting, my mother jumped in front of everyone. A bullet went into the back of her head and exited through the front of her face. Blood sprayed everywhere. Her body slumped over. It had always been me and her against the world. But now, there was nothing I could do to help her. Muhammad Ali once said, "Ain't nothing wrong with going down, it's staying down that's wrong." Similar to how Rome wasn't built in a day, perseverance isn't something that can be achieved overnight. It takes time to learn perseverance, so the younger you are taught it, the better your chances are of overcoming life's trials and tribulations. Licensed clinical social worker Amy Morton says on Psychology Today, February 12, 2018, that the ability to push through discomfort is linked to higher intelligence, more academic achievement, and better work performance. Without perseverance, kids may grow up to become adults who quit whenever they encounter a challenge. Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. I grew up in South Africa during apartheid, which was awkward because my mother, Patricia, is black and my father, Robert, is white. If an interracial couple got caught, the police would arrest the black person. With the white person, it was more like, "Don't do it again, Ned. Cheers." She met a German fellow through her friends. My eventual father was quiet, reserved. She was wild, free. Something clicked. One day, she made her proposal. "I want to have a kid." "I don't want kids." "I didn't ask you to have a kid. I asked you to help me have my kid." Eventually, he said yes. Estranged from her family, pregnant by a man she could not be seen with in public, she was alone. When the doctors pulled out a half-white, half-black child who may violate any number of laws, there was an awkward moment. "That's a very light-skinned baby. Who is the father?" "His father is from Swaziland," my mother said, referring to the tiny kingdom in the west of South Africa. They probably knew she was lying, but they accepted because they needed an explanation. The government labeled everything on your birth certificate: race, tribe, nationality. Most children are proof of their parents' love. I was proof of their criminality. I lived with my mom, and we snuck around and visited my dad as we could. My mom and I used to go to the park all the time. Once, my dad tried to go with us. He was walking a good bit away, and I ran after him, screaming, "Daddy!" He panicked and ran. I couldn't walk with my mother either. A light-skinned child with a black woman would raise too many questions. In South Africa, mixed people came to be classified as their own group, neither black nor white, but what we called colored. It was illegal to be mixed, to have a black parent and a white parent. It wasn't illegal to be colored. So, my mom moved me around the world as a colored child. There was a colored woman who lived on our block. My mom would invite her to walk next to me and act like she was my mother, and my mother would walk behind like she was the maid. When we didn't have a colored woman to walk with us, my mom would risk walking me on her own. She would hold my hand, but if the police showed up, she would pretend I wasn't hers, like I was a bag of weed. As a kid, I understood that people were different colors, but in my head, white and black and brown were like types of chocolate, but we were all chocolate. I don't know what race was. So when the other kids called me white, even though I was brown, I just thought they had their colors mixed up. My grandmother treated me like I was white. One night, my mother came home. She found my gran crying. "What's going on?" "Trevor is naughty." "Then hit him." "I can't." "Why?" "A black child, you hit them and they stay black. When he hit Trevor, he turns blue and green and yellow and red. I've never seen those colors before. I'm scared I'm going to break him. I don't want to kill a white person." So, she never hit me. These were perks of being white in a black family. My family did what the American justice system does. I was given more lenient treatment than black kids. Many colored people lived in limbo, and they could be horribly racist to one another. Some colored people hated me because of my blackness. I was bullied all the time. The incident at the mulberry tree was the worst of them. Colored boys were picking berries off the tree. I started picking some too. Then they started pelting me with berries. I started crying and ran inside. My mother looked at me. I told her the story. She burst out laughing. "It's not funny." "I'm laughing out of relief. I thought this was blood." "Solely berry juice." "Trevor, you're okay. You're not hurt. You're hurt emotionally, but you're not hurt." The animosity I felt from colored people was one of the hardest things I've ever had to deal with. I learned that the quickest way to bridge the race gap was through language. Living with my mom, I saw how she used language to navigate the world. One day I was walking, and a group of Zulu guys were talking about how they were going to mug me. "Let's get this white guy." I spun around. "Why don't we just mug someone together?" They looked shocked. Then they burst out laughing. They were ready to do me harm until they felt we were part of the same tribe. Then we were cool. Maybe I don't look like you, but if I spoke like you, I was you. I wasn't the only child born to black and white parents during apartheid. Other mixed South Africans left. I couldn't understand why we stayed. I asked my mom, "Why don't we leave?" "This is my country. Why should I leave?" She had a fearlessness you have to possess to take on something like she did. Obstacles that would normally lead a person to change their plans only made her more determined to forge ahead. It had always been me and her against the world. Blood sprayed everywhere. Her body slumped over. Abel turned himself in. A few months prior, she decided, "Health insurance is a scam. I never get sick. I'm going to cancel it." So, she had no insurance. Hours later, the doctor finally gave us an update. There had been no damage. It was a miracle. My mother's hospital bill came to 50,000 rand. I paid it. As we packed her things to leave, I told her, "I still can't believe you don't have any health insurance." "I do have insurance." "Jesus." "Where was your Jesus to pay your hospital bill?" She smiled. "He blessed me with the son who did